attendance hai. So how can it be permitted? You see, when the authorities will see कि, why the problem is only to some people, why not to others? If the problem is a general problem, तो लोग समझते हैं कि ठीक है, but only two people have this problem and others are having very good attendance, 100% है, 90% है. No, above 80%, most of the people are above 80%, 85%. So this problem should not occur. Okay, Agni and Vibhuti.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
So now let's continue with the lecture. Okay, so we are talking about the radiative transfer process, right? And we have already had about 3 lectures approximately on this topic so far, and I think it's a very important topic. So we'll have more lectures on this, at least 1 or 2 more lectures. I'm just trying to look at the laser pointer. Okay, laser pointer. So we have had the 3 lectures on this, and then maybe another 2 minimum will be there to complete this radiative radiation parameterization before we move to the next. So every topic is so important now. Okay. And so far, so in this topic, we have been talking about the basic fundamental principles of radiation that we have already studied earlier also in the first semester, but still we are repeating it because I know, most of the people forget. So it is a good refreshment, and this is one of the very, very important topics. So today we'll talk about the radiative transfer process. This diagram is illustrating a layer of the atmosphere. Okay, a thin layer of the atmosphere, infinitesimally a small thin layer of the atmosphere. Now, whose thickness is about ds, let us say, and I lambda is the intensity of radiation which is passing through this layer. Okay, so once it passes through this layer, after absorption, scattering, reflection, etc., it will come out of the layer and its intensity will decrease. Let us say the intensity decreases by di lambda. Okay, so the net radiation after it passes through the layer is I lambda minus di lambda, right? So when a monochromatic radiation of intensity I lambda passes through a thin layer ds of gas, as in the figure, a small increment di lambda will be absorbed. Okay, by the definition of the fractional absorption, di lambda is equal to minus alpha lambda I lambda. But this is the absorption coefficient or absorptivity, right? We consider the case when the gas is so cooled that its emission at a given wavelength is negligibly small. Okay, this layer of the atmosphere contains gas which is very cold. Okay, so that the emission from this layer is negligibly small. Okay, emission is proportional to the temperature, right? That we have already studied, isn't it? So it is so cold that emission is negligible. The measurement of the radiation entering and leaving such a layer pertain only to the absorption because emission is negligible. So basically, it is the absorption which is playing the role here. Under such case, alpha lambda, this alpha lambda, is proportional to the density of the gas and the distance ds. Now, such that alpha lambda is equal to k lambda times ds, and here k lambda is called the absorption coefficient of the gas, right? And ds is the thickness of the layer. It is generally a function of the wavelength and may vary with pressure and temperature. Okay. So this last equation 5 can be written as di lambda divided by I lambda equal to minus k lambda times rho ds. This says simply that the fractional decrease of intensity owing to absorption is proportional to the mass per unit area of the absorbing medium traversed. When we integrate this equation over a finite distance s, then we get integrating over a finite difference s ds, we get di lambda divided by I lambda integration from I lambda 0 to I lambda s equal to integration from s0 to s k lambda rho ds. or from here I lambda s is equal to I lambda naught times e to the power integration of 0 to s minus k lambda rho ds. The right side of this equation 6 is often written as this equation, this term is often written as k lambda rho ds is equal to d tau. D tau. Okay. Where tau is the optical thickness. Tau is the optical thickness of the layer of the atmosphere, and it is non-dimensional. Thus, equation 7 may be written as I lambda s is equal to I lambda naught times e to the power minus tau. Last equation 7. Therefore, the significance of the optical thickness is that when tau is equal to 1, that means when the optical thickness is equal to 1, the intensity of radiation is reduced by the factor of 1 by E, because most of it is reduced, is absorbed, is so thick, optically so thick that most of it is absorbed. In the important special case of radiation through the atmosphere, it is convenient to use the vertical distance z as a coordinate instead of the distance along the radiation beam s, right? The energy from the sun, for example, usually is not vertical, but enters at a zenith angle theta, right? So we consider this vertical coordinate as z rather than the distance s which the beam traverses. And that's because anyway the sun's rays enters the atmosphere at a zenith angle theta. So here it is illustrated in this diagram. This is the layer of the atmosphere having thickness dz. Okay, and this is the zenith, and this is the ray of the radiation, intensity of the radiation having I lambda entering the atmosphere. This path is ds. Okay, so the change in intensity of radiation after it has passed through this layer is I lambda minus di lambda. Here theta is the zenith angle. Okay. So absorption from an oblique ray passing through an infinitesimally small layer is what is illustrated in this figure. The actual distance traveled by the rays through a thin atmospheric layer, okay, see the earlier figure with respect to the earlier diagram, is dz ds equal to minus dz sec theta. Okay, you remember the previous diagram where theta is the zenith angle, dz is the thickness of the layer. So ds, the angular distance ds equal to minus dz times sec theta, where the minus sign appears because z is counted positive upward while s is positive in the upward direction of the ray or the ray. Then Beer's law may be written as di lambda is equal to k lambda I lambda rho sec theta ds. Okay, the change in intensity of the radiation for the wavelength lambda is equal to k lambda times I lambda times rho sec theta dz, or I lambda z is equal to I lambda rho naught times e to the power z to infinity k lambda rho sec theta dz. Okay, so these are called the Beer's law. You have already studied this Beer's law earlier, right? In the previous semester. So this is called the Beer's law or Bogos law or Lambert's law. Okay, so you have to remember all these things. In this development, we have assumed that the re-emission is negligible because the gas was so cold. We said earlier, the gas in the layer of the atmosphere was so cold that the emission was negligible compared to the incident radiation. And this is valid for the case of the visible light passing through the atmosphere. For then, the atmosphere is too cool to emit any detectable short-wave radiation. But when we consider the case of transmission of infrared energy through the atmosphere, the re-emission is no longer negligible. Air does radiate significantly in parts of the infrared spectrum. From Kirchhoff's law that you have studied earlier, the emitted intensity is given by E lambda is equal to alpha lambda times F lambda comma T. See, what we are saying is that for this short wave radiation, we consider the atmosphere to be too cool for re-emission, depending upon the concentration of the gases or the aerosols present in the intervening layer. Right? But when the long wave comes from the Earth, surface or from the reflection by the clouds, then the long wave cannot be neglected because it can significantly re-emit the IR, in the IR range, in the infrared range. And so, according to Kirchhoff's law, the emitted intensity of the long wave is given by this one, where this is the Planck's function, f lambda t, function of the wavelength and temperature. Is the Planck's function. Planck's black body emission rate. Thus, when the monochromatic radiation enters a layer of gas, there is a loss by absorption and a gain by emission at the same wavelength. And the net loss is given by di lambda equal to minus a lambda I lambda plus a lambda times f function of lambda and t, or di lambda can be simply rearranged and written as equal to a lambda times this Planck's black body emission rate minus I lambda, the original intensity of the radiation. Okay. This is the equation of radiative transfer and is known as Schwarzschild's equation or Schwarzschild's equation. This is already known to you. We have studied earlier in the first semester, right? So whenever absorption and re-emissions are significant at a given wavelength, this equation 9 governs the change in the radiation intensity. Okay, are you all listening to me?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
I have to ensure this because sometimes I get disconnected and I keep talking, so that's not happen. Okay, if I get disconnected, then just let me know.
Okay.
So there was the radiative transfer for the short wave. Now let's see for the long wave. Okay, the complex radiative transfer for the long wave. We call it complex because so many things occur in the long wave range. All these re-emission, absorption by the gases, clouds, etc., re-emission, etc., all happens in the long wave. The three basic parameters used to characterize the optical properties of the aerosols, cloud droplets, and ice crystals. We have all these studied earlier. What are those three basic parameters? One is the volume extinction coefficient. Do you remember this term, volume extinction coefficient? N sigma k lambda. Okay, where n is the number of particles per unit volume, sigma is the area of cross section of each particle, and k lambda is the scattering absorption coefficient. Okay, so this is called the volume extinction coefficient and depends upon the number of particles per unit volume present in that layer, the cross section area of each particle, and the scattering coefficient or absorption coefficient. Okay, this is number one, volume extinction coefficient. The second important parameter is the single scattering albedo. Rahul, are you listening?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, you were asking that day, what is the single scattering albedo? You have studied that in the last semester, okay, in the first semester. And I explained to you just a few days ago what is the physical significance, physical meaning of single scattering albedo, but how it is defined now in terms of mathematical expression. It is defined here. The single scattering albedo is defined as the ratio of the k lambda scattering divided by the total. Okay, scattering plus absorption. K lambda of scattering plus k lambda of absorption. So this ratio of the scattering divided by scattering plus absorption at a given wavelength, for a given wavelength lambda, okay, is called the single scattering albedo. Right? Is it okay, Rahul?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. And where omega lambda is equal to 1, the single scattering albedo is equal to 1 for non-absorbing particles and less than 0.5 for strongly absorbing particles. Okay, all these things you will have to remember. A third important parameter, okay, for this radiative transfer is the asymmetry factor. This also you have studied earlier, and this is defined as G lambda is equal to half of integration from -1 to +1 P cos theta prime, D cos theta prime. Okay, where P cos theta prime, this one, is the normalized angular distribution of the scattered radiation, the so-called the scattering phase function. And theta prime is the angle between the incident radiation and the scattered radiation. You remember the diagram that we have shown earlier. The angle between the incident radiation and the scattered radiation. Okay. The asymmetry factor is equal to 0 for isotropic radiation and ranges from plus minus 1, with positive values indicating predominance of forward scattering. Okay, typically asymmetry parameter is approximately 0.5 for aerosols, equal to 0.8 for the ice clouds, and 0.85 for the cloud droplets. Okay, this is a typical value of asymmetric factors. Okay, so whether a particular aerosol will increase or decrease planetary albedo would depend on the interplay between all the three parameters, that is the volume extinction coefficient, the single scattering albedo, and the asymmetry parameter. All the three things will play the role in whether a particular aerosol will increase or decrease planetary albedo. Okay, right? Now the reflection and absorption by a layer of the atmosphere. The conservation of energy requires that for radiation incident on a layer of aerosols or clouds, follow this equation or obey this equation. That means total absorption plus reflection plus transmission must be equal to 1. Okay, that is required by the law of conservation of energy. Okay, so where alpha lambda f, alpha r lambda f, and t lambda f are respectively the flux absorptivity. Okay, this is the reflectivity, and this is the transmissivity of the layer. Okay, the absorptivity, reflectivity, and transmissivity of the layer all together must be equal to 1. Sum of all the three must be equal to 1. The combined effects of scattering and absorption in reducing the intensity are referred to as extinction. Okay, when we say extinction, now when a ray of radiation passes through a layer of atmosphere, then when it emerges out, part of the radiation is extinct, reduces, and this extinction depends upon the combined factor of alpha lambda, r lambda, and the t lambda, which is the absorptivity, reflectivity, and the transmissivity. Okay. Attenuation of radiation by absorption. Consider an element of area dA. Okay, an element of area dA, and this is the incident radiation at a angle theta, zenith angle theta. Let's consider this distance ds through which this intensity of radiation is traversing, okay, in the layer of the atmosphere, and this is the thickness dz. See the difference between the thickness dz and ds. Remember the equations ds and dz. We are considering the Cartesian coordinate here dz, okay, vertical, but ds is the distance traveled by this ray of radiation. Okay, so the attenuation of radiation by the absorption in this layer of the atmosphere is given by di lambda equal to I lambda minus I lambda times b lambda n beta ds. Okay, where n is the number of molecules per cubic meter in that layer, b lambda, okay, beta lambda is the absorption cross section of each particle. Okay, it depends on how many particles are present, its absorption cross section. Beta is a cross sectional area, okay, and ds is a differential path length. Differential path length. Okay. The Schwarzschild equation for the slanted ray path is given as follows. We know that the decrease in intensity of radiation, okay, due to absorption is given by di lambda equal to minus I lambda times rho r k lambda ds, and is represented as I lambda times alpha lambda, where rho is the density of the air, r is the mass absorbing gas per unit mass of air, and k lambda is equal to mass absorbing coefficient. alpha lambda is equal to absorptivity of the layer. The rate of change due to the emission of radiation from that layer is then di lambda, because of the emission, is equal to b lambda for the at the temperature T times epsilon lambda, where b lambda T is the Planck's function and epsilon lambda is the emissivity. Okay, the Planck's function and the emissivity. So this is the rate of change of radiation due to the emission. Okay, rate of change of radiation due to the emission. All right, this is due to the absorption. Using Kirchhoff's law that you have already studied, now which says epsilon lambda is equal to alpha lambda. Okay, and summing the two expressions, we get the Schwarzschild's equation di lambda is equal to minus I lambda minus b lambda T times k lambda rho r ds. By analogy with the Beer's law that you have seen earlier, that is I lambda is equal to I lambda infinity to the power minus tau lambda sec theta is equal to I lambda infinity times tau lambda. By analogy with this equation, where tau lambda is the optical thickness integrated over the entire spectrum of the radiation, k lambda times rho r dz, indicated about the thickness of the layer, okay, z to infinity, okay, optical depth. And T lambda, this T lambda is equal to e to the power minus tau lambda sec theta, which is the transmissivity. So this is the Beer's law. Now, if you recall, we just discussed today earlier, the Beer's law. So by analogy with the Beer's law, the equation of the last slide, we can write now, or we can say that it follows that as radiation passes through a layer, its intensity exponentially approaches that of the black body radiation corresponding to the temperature of the layer. And by the time the radiation has passed through an optical thickness of 1, the departure b lambda T minus I lambda has decreased by the factor 1 by E. So if tau lambda, the optical thickness is very, very less than 1, that implies emission from the atmosphere is negligible. The thickness is much less than 1, the optical thickness is much less than 1. So that will lead to negligible emission. Okay. If the tau lambda is much greater than 1, that means transmissivity is so small that only a minute fraction of the intensity escapes from the top of the atmosphere. Right? When the optical thickness is very high, is much greater than 1, that means very less amount of radiation will escape from the top of the atmosphere. Most of it will be absorbed because of the large optical thickness of the layer of the atmosphere. The optical depth is strongly dependent on the zenith angle. This dependence is exploited in the design of satellite-borne limb scanning radiometers. You might have heard about this limb scanning radiometers, sensors which are designed or not also featured in the satellites. And this property of the radiation, the optical thickness, is exploited in designing the limb scanning radiometer. Okay, because it is strongly dependent on the zenith angle. In the gaps between the major absorption bands of the atmosphere, in the absorption band, the atmosphere absorbs and emits radiation so weakly that even at sea level, tau is much less than 1. You have studied earlier, we discussed yesterday or day for this last class that the electromagnetic radiation has got many windows, the so-called atmospheric windows, in which the atmosphere is transparent to the radiation, and all that radiation which falls in that spectrum of the wavelength escapes unabsorbed in that atmosphere. Okay, that you have seen, and that depends on their wavelength and the presence of the gases, like water vapor absorbs in certain wavelength and is transparent to the radiation in some other wavelength. Right? Similarly, other gases, carbon dioxide and other gases also have similar characteristics. They are transparent in certain wavelength for certain wavelength, and so the radiation for that wavelength completely escapes the atmosphere, the so-called atmospheric window. Okay, so when the radiation completely escapes the atmosphere, tau is much less than 1. Optical thickness is much less than 1. Within these so-called windows of the EMU, an appreciable fraction of the radiation emitted by the Earth escapes to space. The integral form of the Schwarzschild's equation is obtained by integrating the last equation 3 along a ray path from 0 to S1. Okay, this is the diagonal path depicted in the figure earlier, or we will see the new figure in this figure. Okay, this is the radiation, and it passing through the layer of the atmosphere diagonally, and this is the distance, say 0 S S1. So this is the distance, let us say S1 to S. So in this distance now, from 0 to S1, the Schwarzschild's equation, by integrating the last equation 3 now along this path, is given by I lambda S1 equal to I lambda naught times e to the power minus tau lambda from S1 to 0, okay, plus the integration over the entire distance of the spectrum over all wavelength, k lambda times rho r b lambda ts e to the power minus this tau lambda S1 to S ts, where this term represents the intensity from S0 that reaches S1, from S0 to S1, the intensity that reaches from S0 to S1, okay, and this term represents the intensity emitted along the path from S0 to S1 that reaches S1, okay, the intensity which is emitted, okay, so that the e to the power minus tau lambda indicates the transmissivity, okay. So the equation 4, this equation, is applicable to a slanted path. This is slanted path. But for writing relevant form of a plane parallel approximation, okay, is also very important. The zenith angle theta need to be accounted for the calculation of the optical depth, the zenith angle theta. So we talk about the plane parallel approximation, which simplifies, the calculation of the radiation transfer process. Plane parallel approximation. There is the diagram. There is some diagram. Okay. Many atmospheric radiative transfer calculations can be simplified through use of the plane parallel approximation, in which the temperature and the densities of the constituents are assumed to be functions of the height or pressure only. With this simplification, the flux density passing through a given atmospheric layer is given by the flux density of the radiation passing through this layer of atmosphere now is given by this expression, where the arrows indicate the upward flux and the downward flux, okay, and this integration over 2 pi, that means over the entire spherical surface, the I nu upward and downward times tau nu comma cos theta, function of the tau nu and cos theta, times cos theta d omega, where tau nu is the normal optical depth. The tau nu is used as a vertical coordinate, and the arrows upward and downward denotes both upward and downward fluxes. Nu is the wave number. So this tau lambda, okay, the optical thickness for a given wavelength lambda is the integration of z to lambda, k lambda, rho r dz, that we have seen earlier. Integrating our azimuth angle and denoting cos theta by mu, we obtain f nu upward or downward flux of the for the wave number mu is equal to 2 pi times 0 to 1 I nu upward or downward, which is a function of tau nu, and mu is the cos theta, times mu du. This is a general equation of radiative transfer in a plane parallel atmosphere with multiple scattering. Okay, this is the general equation of radiative transfer for plane parallel approximation, plane parallel atmosphere. Okay, so this is the diagram which illustrates that now radiation is passing through these different layers of different optical thickness. Okay, tau naught. Okay, tau equal to 0, and the radiation which is now attenuated because of this intervening layer is represented by these parameters here. So the last equation 5 may be broken down into 3 components. One is the upward emission from the Earth's surface that reaches the level without being absorbed. Second is the upward emission from the underlying atmospheric layer. And third is the downward emission from the overlying layer. Three factors. One which is emitted without absorption. The other one is emitted by the underlying surface of the atmosphere. And the third is the downward emission from the overlying layer. Using the Beer's law, the intensity transmittivity tau nu can be represented as or written as T times T, which is a function of nu and f, is equal to 2 times 0 to 1 e to the power minus tau nu divided by mu d mu is replaced by the flux transmissivity, which is given by this T nu. F is the flux transmissivity, which is approximately equal to e to the power minus tau nu under root of mu, where 1 over mu, there is the inverse of mu bar is equal to approximately sec 53 degree, which is approximately 1.66, and this is called the diffusivity factor. If the effective zenith angle, it is referred to as the diffusive factor. Now, vertical profiles of radiative heating rates. What is the time? I hope I'm not exceeding time. Okay. You have a class, right? 3:30?
Yes, sir.
Try to finish now, another 1 or 2 minutes. The net difference between the incoming and outgoing radiation, as shown in the figure, will change the temperature of the layer. See, this is a layer of the atmosphere. Okay, this is incoming radiation at the top of the layer, and this is outgoing at the bottom of the layer. Okay, and this is the again long wave radiation incoming and outgoing. This is the thickness of the layer. Okay, so the net difference between the incoming and the outgoing radiation will change the temperature of this layer. Okay, the net radiative flux is responsible for heating or cooling, which can be expressed as dq equal to d times downward minus upward watts per meter square. If absorption of dq amount of net radiative flux changes the temperature of the layer of the thickness dz by dt, then the change in heat content of the layer is given by rho Cp dt by dt dz equal to dq, or rho Cp dt by dt equal to d by dz of the difference between the upward and downward flux. The short wave radiation absorbed at the Earth's surface equal to 1 minus alpha times 0 pi Re square. The long wave radiation emitted by the Earth's surface equal to 4 pi R square times sigma to the power T to the power 4 G, that is ground temperature of the Earth. This is the Earth radius. Okay, so this is the long wave radiation emitted by the Earth's surface, 4 pi R square times sigma Tg to the power 4. You already know that. It's Stefan's Boltzmann's law. Where alpha is the albedo and S0 here is the solar constant, radiation flux reaching the top of the atmosphere. The net heating of the surface will depend on these factors. One, all incident radiation absorbed at the surface. This is the case when albedo alpha is equal to 0. Okay, everything is absorbed, and for this case, this surface temperature, now equivalent surface temperature is 279 Kelvin. The second is incident radiation partly absorbed at the surface, in which case alpha is 0.3, and third is the greenhouse effect. So greenhouse effect, you already know that, because of the presence of the greenhouse gases in the atmosphere, the radiative characteristics of the atmospheric layer changes. Okay, and depending upon the presence of the types of greenhouse gases, temperature of the layer will be accordingly say T1, T2, T3, etc. Okay, and this diagram illustrates that now how from the top of the atmosphere radiation is penetrating down layer by layer and reaching the Earth's surface. Okay, these are solar radiation. These are the temperatures of the different layers of the atmosphere. This is the Earth surface, base of the atmosphere. Okay, and they are the fluxes, upward fluxes and downward fluxes from each layer of the atmosphere as it passes through. Okay, and this is the emitted radiation. Emitted radiation. So it is assumed that the atmosphere is transparent to solar radiation, but opaque or partly transparent to long wave infrared radiation. The net heating is depicted in this figure. So today I will stop here. Okay, it's already 3:30. And next class we shall discuss about the cloud radiation interaction. I hope I'll try to finish the radiation part now in the next class. Already, I think this is the third or fourth lecture, right? So I see that 9 people are there maybe. So is it okay?
Yes, sir.
So today we stop and then we attend the next class. Tomorrow we'll meet at same time, 2:30. 2:30, yes, tomorrow. Okay?
Okay, sir.
Yeah.
Yes. Thank you, sir.
Everybody who has got the Adira, so you will get the